Hi and welcome to this Sunday afternoon vlog. Now this Sunday afternoon we were craving some chapati and beans, and this is what I will be showing you in this video, aside talking about a topic which is to do with the US requiring citizens from a couple of African countries for their tourist and business visas. Now I used plain flour, which is very typical in the adopted recipe we use as Africans in East Africa. The Indians might use atta flour, chapati flour, wholemeal flour, which I have used in the past before, and occasionally I may use it, but I don't cook chapatis very often. So today I'm using a plain flour, about a tablespoon, or I think 2 tablespoons of oil it was that I put, but I used my eyes anyway. It might have amounted to about 1/4 cup maybe, and some lukewarm water. Now I mix this together and I actually make a dough, as though I'm making a dough for bread. And yeah, follow along as I cook this recipe, and I'll also be cooking the beans later, which by now I had already started to boil them whilst I talk about this topic. Now, if you are an African from Malawi and Zambia, you may be interested in this video if you are planning to go to the US for tourist or business purposes, or potentially even students may be affected. You will be charged approximately $15,000, which is approximately 11,300 pounds, as for a deposit for your visa. The US government has brought out this 12-month pilot program, which the aim is to actually curb overstays, or screen, do a vetting information for those who are overstaying. They are citing that this couple of countries will need to pay those deposits because they have been seen to overstay their stay, and also for the purpose of stemming illegal immigration, which, as we all know, is on the agenda for United States. They've done a significant amount of things recently, from deportation to curbing immigration and many other things, to actually reduce the number of what they call aliens, as they call immigrants and visitors to the USA, the aunt of US citizenship, or citizenship holders or passport holders. They call them aliens. And so can you imagine somebody going on a tourist program, somebody going as a business person? Unless you're somebody who really has significant amounts of funds to actually cover this kind of upfront deposits, this is going to be exceptionally challenging. I think it is going to reduce definitely the number of immigrants traveling there, which is their agenda anyway. So I think that that's going to work. However, I also have my reaction, and I also have something to say for Africans who are looking to study in these countries that rely heavily on an income from international students. I know that UK gets a significant amount of income from international students. They do really earn quite a lot from it, from which a recent publication that I read, they achieve quite a high amount. And so for US to look at it in this area means that they believe that obviously there may be more of corn, for foreigners. The corn, it's a corn for them, is what I mean to say. They are not probably gaining as much as they would like from these African countries going to them. And there also are other countries that tend to overstay. There are Haiti at around 31%, Myanmar at 27%, and Yemen at 20% as well. Zambian Foreign Minister Mulambo has spoken, and he told the BBC that they are communicating with some of the counterparts, that is US, I believe, to get a fuller and clearer picture of the implications and what they can do to actually address it, which is a good thing. My take on the whole matter is that I feel like us Africans need to begin to look inwards. I think we need to look, when I say look inwards, I think we need to look at our own continent. We need to look at, our universities. We need to look at our education systems. And actually, if one looks at it, which I did, some of the top universities in Africa, at least top 7, and come to the actually fall probably within the top 100, maybe 1,000 in the world, come from South Africa, I believe is one of them, Egypt, Morocco. There's several universities in South Africa that are top rated. Several universities across Nigeria that are top rated, and then of course in Uganda also we have Makerere University. Kenya, there's Kenyatta University, and many other universities, especially like I said, Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria. Why are we not looking at studying in Africa? Even if it's not in your own country, why aren't we looking at going to the next countries in the continent to actually study? Because we have produced a number of solid, academically sound people in all fields, in business, in medicine, in the pharmaceuticals, that is under medicine, professors. We have produced in social sciences, political science. You name it. Africa has really become quite ranked in terms of education. And because as Africans we value education so much, I think that has made our universities really sound. It has made them top rated and adequate for people to actually look at studying. If you think about it, that $15,000, the 11,300 equivalent, that is in pounds, that could get you into a university, or that could get you into an African country, or that could start you a business in your country or another African country for that matter. Why put that money towards going to United States, where the climate is unpredictable? And when I say the climate is unpredictable in the sense that right now we have a situation where the Donald Trump administration are actually curbing immigrants. They're curbing not just illegal immigrants, but actually trying to reduce even legal immigration anyway. And with a number of with the amount of racism that's going on in the United States, why do people really want to go to a climate that's so hostile towards us Africans? My encouragement is to ask us to look at these African countries and to actually give it a chance, give it an opportunity, and to take our money, look at our money and say, actually, is it worth me paying all this money to go to this country where in the end, yes, you'll get the money back. That's what they're saying. But we really don't also know what's in the corner. You don't know what's in the corner around that. Nobody knows what's in the corner in anywhere. It's God's grace. It's really God's grace that takes us every day. But what I'm trying to say is that it's quite a significant amount of money to just put down and then actually apply for a visa. Like, what if you don't get a visa? These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. If somebody pays that pays that amount of money towards a tourist or business visa, will they get the money back? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves. Now, I'm pausing on the topic, or maybe stopping it even, and I'm going to divert us back to the recipe. And what I've been doing here is I'm preparing them in bowls and rolling them out now. And the flour on the surface is to actually just decrease the stickiness. Now, putting the oil on top, this is actually to add more moisture to the chapati, not only but also to try and produce fluffy chapatis that are actually, they kind of have layers. There are people who will do this process 2 or 3 times over, but I am actually doing it once, and I have less time, so I'm taking a shortcut. But yes, this is the idea here, and the technique. Now, once that's done, if you're somebody who has a lot of patience and a lot of time, you can actually roll it out once again and add that layer of oil again 2 or 3 times. I think that's quite an elaborate process. So I once again welcome you here if it's your first time. I'm Jacqueline, and this is my channel where we talk about a range of topics. We cover immigration stories. We talk about politics. These are some of my favorite topics here. And recently I took time to refresh my thumbnail, YouTube thumbnail, and change the name slightly. I just wanted it to have an overall feel of the topics and kind of bring it to alignment, because I have quite a range of topics, and I wanted YouTube to hopefully understand better where to place my videos. The range of topics, and then again there's also summer series, which summer series covers my gardening. I do a lot of gardening, but I mainly do gardening in summer. And now I'm beginning to think, well, maybe I will do gardening when it's not too cold as well. I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm not really an outdoor person, and I don't like the cold that much, so I don't know if I will go that far. But there are some plants that I will be bringing on board, and I will update you on the new fencing that has gone up, which is next door. That is the church. So I will update you on what I might be doing to beautify that and to add a new look to my garden. So if you've enjoyed my video and you've watched up to now, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you and welcome you here. If you have not subscribed, why don't you take time to subscribe and click the notification button so that you are notified of any videos in future and you don't miss out. Continue watching the rest of the videos, and it is very likely that I may add some music and pause. If I need to say something more, I may just pause it and speak. Thank you. And the base of what you see here, I mean, the pan I'm using is a typical very heavy flat iron, wrought iron, should I say, for cooking probably many types of bread. There's also a particular type of pancake, they call it kisra. That one's mainly cooked by, I think, it's kind of Arabian or sort of coastal, the Swahili people, I believe. And I'm using this heavy based pan just because I find it easier to it's also less likely to burn chapatis. Not that I'm worried about burning anything, but sometimes the chapati, when it cooks, comes up with patterns here and there. It's just the way it cooks, and I prefer this, which I thought that I'd actually do it a very typical way. So there I turned it over, but I turned it slightly earlier, and it's more likely that I'll put it back on the other side to cook again. Now, some people are perfectionists and I'm not a perfectionist. I'm going to have to say, in terms of the chapati is going to be totally rounded. I'm not exactly like that. I can be if I want to really get things right that way. And one would be tempted to even cut the chapati round with a plate just to get it rounded. But honestly speaking, these things can take time, and it's, of course, if you have time and you have the energy for all that, that's fine. But yes, that is that, and I'm just showing you the process of making the chapati. The process of cooking the chapati. Now, at this point, it is often also typically possible to add some more oil. If the chapati seems relatively dry, then oil can be added with a brush, or just a spoon. And also, I might want to point out I used vegetable oil. It is possible to actually use other types of oil. It is possible to actually use ghee, actual ghee as well, to cook chapatis. That is actually possible as well. Now, there's many ways of cooking chapati. Some people can smash or mash, should I say, onions and actually add it into the dough as well. That's another way of making flavored chapati. So yes, this can be quite versatile in the way in which you make them. And like I said earlier on, how chapatis are eaten in East Africa, there's a way of eating them. They can even be eaten on their own as a snack, or as something that could be eaten with eggs in the morning for breakfast. On their own, you can put butter on them. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm going to get foil, and I'm going to put the chapatis inside them as I cook them. Part of the reason for this is that it seals the moisture. It keeps them slightly moist. It keeps them away from the rest of the heat, because that's the space I had at the time. And as you put the chapatis in there, it starts keeping in the steam and the any kind of steam or heat that rises. It keeps it may even form some kind of a steam in there and actually work to keeping it moist. So that's part of the reason why I'm using the foil at that moment in time. Now, chapatis can also be made and actually frozen. It is possible to freeze them. There's a type of paper that you can use. It looks a bit, I believe it's a baking paper, that can be cut and be used in between them before cooking them. That is, if you're freezing chapatis after cooking them, you may want to be careful and check the way in which you are going to actually separate them and store them. with the chapatis that have been rolled out and not cooked. um, what I mentioned is that the baking paper can be put in between them, and you add a chapati on top and keep putting those the baking paper in between and add them on top if you want to freeze them to use on another day, which works very well, by the way, because if you just want them, then you just make many and you just take them out and add them to the heat, cook them and eat them on the go as you go. But I'm not doing that, and I rarely do that as well. What level of layers I have. The layers today are not significant. However, the chapatis are quite, they are moist, and this is the way to do it. If you like a lot of layers, which I do as well, then it may be worth actually going through the procedure and doing it the way I was mentioning earlier with the oil, and then rolling them over and over again. So that is that. And if you have watched up to now, thank you so much. Please do continue to watch as I actually managed to sit and enjoy. My son joined me briefly, and the rest of us we're out and about. And yeah, so that's that. And yeah, so here are the beans. And in order to fry these beans, basically it's onions. Let the onions go golden brown. I used fresh tomatoes, and these are tomatoes you saw me picking up earlier. If you watched from beginning up to now, you saw it. These are my very own grown tomatoes that I used. And these beans, the roast cocoa beans that I bought from the African shops. There are times that I will actually buy specifically the Ugandan beans and use it. But yes, I had boiled the beans, and this is a small packet. It's a whole packet, but it swells up. And the spices I used in these beans turmeric powder. I also used ginger. That's fresh ginger that I cut in earlier and put in the onions. Ginger can be put in the onions once the onions are slightly golden brown, so the garlic doesn't burn. I also had here black pepper, white pepper, garam masala powder, and curry powder. That's what I'm adding there. And mix it through and through. Although it had boiled and it was quite soft, I still added, I went on to add a bit of water, because what you don't want is for the beans to be too dry in themselves. It's a bean stew. It's meant to have some kind of, it needs to be, how do I put it? It needs to not be too dry or not too watery. I also added for some tomato puree, just to give it that extra tomatoey taste, as the fresh tomatoes. I think that was just needed, because the ratio of the tomatoes I had in the house at the time in comparison to the beans was slightly less, so I added tomato puree in there. It's optional, it really is, but it's a good thing to add in there. Now, very often these beans can actually also be cooked, and this is a bulk amount that I can actually freeze as well or keep in the fridge. You can actually add cubed and chopped carrots in here as well, and also some kind of bell peppers if you like towards the end, just to bulk it up. And so that is it. That is the cooking. That's the beans done, and we are heading towards the time when this vlog is coming to an end. Thank you so much if you have watched up to now. I really do not take you for granted, and I really appreciate your presence here. If you have any questions about this recipe or anything here today, please do comment. I'd like to hear from you. Thank you so much. Until next time, God bless you and enjoy the rest of the video. Bye.